Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. During the Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods. Since Guanzhong implemented the 700 women of the Lu policy, the brothels and courtesans became a frequent topic of conversation among the powerful and influential. The term courtesans typically referred to women from poor families who were sold into brothels, or female members of officials' families who, after their homes were raided, were forced to sell themselves to survive. In ancient China, because of the significant income generated by courtesans, especially those of exceptional beauty, their earnings could be quite substantial. As a result, madams would do everything in their power to make sure they saw as many clients as possible. They would sometimes even resort to harsh and cruel methods to force these women into prostitution. These methods were often so terrifying that merely hearing about them could send shivers down one's spine. Among the most famous courtesans of ancient times was Chen Yuanyuan. Not only was she breathtakingly beautiful, but she was also skilled in the arts of playing the zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Historical records mention that Chen Yuanyuan could earn 10 gold pieces just by attending a banquet. And the price for spending a night with her could reach as much as 1,000 gold pieces. Such a precious treasure was naturally not something the madams would let slip away. They spared no effort to make her entertain guests. However, Chen Yuanyuan initially only wanted to earn a living through her talents, refusing to sell herself, and even declared that if she were ever forced to become a prostitute, she would rather die. At this point, the madam found herself in a dilemma. She could not directly punish her, nor dare to force her, fearing that this treasure might ruin her beauty. So, the madam brought in a new courtesan, plain in appearance and unwilling to entertain guests. The madam used her as an excuse to subject her to torture in order to intimidate Chen Yuanyuan. This torture was called Tiger and Leopard playing in the spring, and the process was chilling. First, the madam instructed her subordinates to strip the new courtesan of all her clothes and place them in a cloth bag, leaving only her head exposed. Then, a cat and a mouse were placed inside the bag, and the bag was tightly sealed. Next, the bag was beaten hard, causing the terrified animals inside to attack each other. The cat, like a tiger or leopard, would viciously tear at everything in its path until the mouse was killed. The bag would be silent once the mouse was dead. When the bag was opened, the woman's body would be covered in bites and scratches. Seeing this, the madam knew that the woman was of no further use. And so she discarded her body at a mass grave site. The horrifying scene struck fear into the hearts of all the other courtesans present, including Chen Yuanyuan. In the end, the madam's cruel tactics succeeded, and Chen Yuanyuan reluctantly agreed to entertain guests, eventually becoming one of ancient China's most famous, top courtesans. According to historical records, Chen Yuanyuan, one of the 8 beauties of the Qinhuai during the late Ming dynasty, was originally named Zheng Yuanyuan and was born into a poor family in Jiangnan. Her parents passed away when she was young, and she was raised by her aunt. Since her uncle's surname was Chen, she adopted the surname Chen and lived with her aunt's family in the Peach Blossom Dock in Suzhou. However, her aunt's family was also not well off, and life was tough. At the age of 10, Chen Yuanyuan was sold by her uncle to the Pear Orchard, a type of brothel, to begin learning singing, dancing, and other arts such as playing the guqin, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Her life, much like her name, was filled with hardship, yet she gradually began to display extraordinary talent. Chen Yuanyuan achieved great success in both music and dance, but her painting skills were equally impressive. She was particularly skilled in painting bamboo, with her works pursuing a refined and transcendent atmosphere. Her style was unique and full of vitality. Her painting, Ink Bamboo, was especially revered, evoking a sense of freshness and elegance. Under her brush, the bamboo appeared to come to life, graceful and full of spirit, embodying the plant's slender, noble character. Her works were not merely realistic depictions of bamboo. but an expression of the extraordinary, providing a tranquil and refined aesthetic experience. Chen Yuanyuan's fate took a turn when a concubine in the harem of Emperor Chongzhen of the Ming dynasty, surnamed Tian, took an interest in her. Tian's father, Tianyuan, worried that his daughter, as she grew older, would lose her beauty and favor with the emperor. So he decided to seek out a beautiful woman in Jiangnan to please the emperor. Tianyuan encountered Chen Yuanyuan and was deeply moved by her beauty and talents. He then bought her freedom, brought her to the capital, adopted her as an adopted daughter, and introduced her to the imperial palace. However, the Ming Empire was already on the brink of collapse, and Emperor Chongzhen, weary both physically and emotionally, had lost interest in the beauties of the harem. 3 months after Chen Yuanyuan entered the palace, she had failed to capture the emperor's attention and was reluctantly sent back to the Tian family. Chen Yuanyuan later became a singing courtesan in Tianyuan's household. As Tianyuan's influence waned, he sought to secure his position and find protection by forming a relationship with the powerful general Wu Sangui, who controlled a large military force. Tianyuan hosted a lavish banquet and invited Wu Sangui. At the banquet, all the courtesans performed, but it was the subtle and elegant Chen Yuanyuan who captivated everyone. Wu Sangui was immediately struck by her beauty and could not forget her. As a result, Tianyuan decided to offer Chen Yuanyuan to Wu Sangui, preparing a generous dowry and sending her to his residence. However, the situation grew more complicated. Li Zicheng's peasant army captured Beijing, and Chen Yuanyuan was taken by Lu Zongmin, one of Li Zicheng's generals. Wu Sangui, who had initially considered surrendering to the peasant army, was enraged upon hearing that Chen Yuanyuan had been captured. Overcome with emotion, he decided to ally with the Qing army. According to Ming history, Wu Sangui, who had been delayed in moving his troops near the Shanhai Pass, immediately decided to lead his forces to strike back upon hearing of Chen Yuanyuan's capture. Under the combined assault of Wu Sangui and the Qing army, Li Zicheng's peasant army suffered a crushing defeat, forcing them to flee Beijing, leaving behind a large amount of spoils and prisoners. Eventually, amid the chaos of war, Wu Sangui managed to find Chen Yuanyuan, and from that point on, she accompanied him in battles across the land. After Wu Sangui pacified Yunnan, Chen Yuanyuan entered his palace as a favored consort and enjoyed his deep affection. However, after Wu Sangui consolidated control over Yunnan, he began to show signs of indulgence and excessive desire. His lifestyle became increasingly luxurious, and he eagerly pursued music, dance, and entertainment. He built the Anfu Garden in Yunnan, recruiting young courtesans and hosting performances that rivaled those in the imperial palace. But as Chen Yuanyuan aged and her beauty faded, coupled with her growing discord with Wu Sangui's legitimate wife, and the presence of other favored concubines, she gradually lost his favor. With her fall from favor, Chen Yuanyuan began to contemplate retreating from the world. She suggested to Wu Sangui that he build a small temple in a remote part of the Wang residence, where she could focus on her spiritual practice, living simply by fasting and chanting Buddha's name. Wu Sangui gladly agreed, and she resigned from all court duties, entering the temple to begin a life of tranquility. Dressed in plain clothes, she ate only vegetarian food and no longer concerned herself with the affairs of the Wang residence, quietly observing the changing tides of the times. Her life was simple and austere, with devotion to Buddha as her lifelong aspiration. Plain clothes and simple meals, worshipping Buddha until the end of this life, the once resplendent beauty of a glorious era finally came to a close in this peaceful solitude. However, as Wu Sangui's plans for rebellion began to surface, Chen Yuanyuan became increasingly disgusted by it all. She briefly worried about her own safety but remained most concerned about the safety of Wu Sangui's son, Wu Yingqi, whom she had adopted. At the age of 9, Wu Yingqi had been taken into the Wang residence, and their relationship was as close as that of a mother and son. Chen Yuanyuan cared deeply for Wu Yingqi's safety and made it clear that while she herself did not care about her own well-being, she must ensure the root, meaning Wu Yingqi, was safe. After Wu Sangui's death, Chen Yuanyuan sought refuge. Together with Wu Yingqi and General Ma Bao, they decided to leave Yunnan in search of a safe place to protect Wu Yingqi. She planned to quietly depart with him and take refuge in the deep mountains and forests of Cingong County. Before leaving, she arranged for her trusted confidants to prepare clothing and headgear in the temple. Intending to fake her suicide when the Qing army arrived, creating a cover story to hide her whereabouts. She was first escorted by General Ma Bao to a remote cave near Longyao River, a location surrounded by perilous terrain. With cliffs in the front and dense forests behind, offering a natural barrier. However, due to frequent sightings of wild animals and a scarcity of food, Chen Yuanyuan and her family had to move often, staying in various locations, including places like Kaianwuchang Tian and Liachang. Chen Yuanyuan's later years were filled with longing and worry. She often grew pale and frail, deeply missing Wu Sangui and fearing for her family's safety. She developed severe headaches, and at times, the pain was so intense that she would lose consciousness. Over time, her condition worsened. Eventually, on a day in August of the 28th year of the Kangxi reign, while chanting scriptures, Chen Yuanyuan suddenly fell ill, collapsed, and never regained consciousness. Her life, like a brilliant yet fleeting dream, quietly came to an end. According to historical scholars, while Chen Yuanyuan may not have been as brave and resolute as figures like Liang Hongyu in history, her beauty deeply captivated both Wu Sangui and Lu Zongmin. And she even influenced the fate of the great Shun dynasty. Perhaps Li Zicheng could never have defeated the Manchu army. But if Wu Sangui had not surrendered to Drunken, the Manchus might have had to wait decades before entering the pass. Thus, through her personal charm, Chen Yuanyuan influenced many people and, in some way, altered the course of history. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.